Hey, what's going on, my friends? You're listening to the DIY Marketing School podcast. I'm your host and your marketing coach, Melanie Diane Howe. And today, I'm going to talk about sharing personal information in your professional social media. Should you do it? How much should you share? And what are some things to consider? Let's do it. Well, hello. How's it going? I hope that you are having a wonderful day. Whatever you're doing, whether you're on a walk, getting ready for the day, in the car, I don't know. Whatever it is you're doing, I just hope that it's a wonderful day for you and you take some time to just reflect on the fact that, hey, it's a good day to have a good day, right? And if you're not having a great day, then, hey, maybe I can bring a little bit of energy, a little pep in your step today. We'll see. So anyways, either way, I'm super excited that you're here and very, very grateful to have you listening to this episode. So in this episode, I'm going to talk about a common thing I think that a lot of people struggle with, a question that comes up, but sometimes as an inner debate or sometimes even just as a debate in the world of marketing and social media. And that is, should you get personal in your social media content? You know, how much personal information is okay to share in your social media content? Now, I'm not really talking about our personal social media profiles. Obviously, our personal social media profiles, in my opinion, should be used personally. That's the point of calling them personal social media profiles, even though we do know, everybody knows at least one person out there who is using their personal social media profile predominantly for, business or professional reasons, right? Now, I will say that LinkedIn might be one of those exceptions where, hey, you're on LinkedIn and it's mostly for professional networking or professional, content and whatnot, right? So, you kind of know what I'm talking about here, right? Like your personal Facebook page, your personal Instagram page, it's great for babies and puppies and food pictures and, check-ins at the ball games and check-ins at the, parks or on the boat or whatever it is that you do with yourself personally, right? You get the gist. Let's talk about your professional social media profiles and content. So, a Facebook business page, maybe a Facebook group that you are facilitating or running, a YouTube channel, an Instagram account, whether it be an actual business or creative account, or if you're one of those people kind of like me, that it's a blended account, it's pretty much a personal account, yet you are using it to talk about the things you do for a living and also share some information here and there about the things you're working on, right? And I think that if you own a business, you should be using all of your personal accounts that way. You should absolutely, from time to time be sharing some of the things you're working on, the things that are going on in your business or your career. I think it's totally okay. But what we're going to talk about today is how personal you should get in that professional content. So, this is like, should you let people know you have children? Should you talk about your dog or your cat? Or should you, talk about the vacations you're on? Should you share pictures of your vacations? Personal stuff, like things going on in your personal life that in a lot of ways have nothing to do with what it is you offer or how you help people or how you serve. I think that this is a common thing that people battle with because I believe that there is no formulated answer, much like everything. If you've been listening to my podcast, you know that I like to remind everyone that there really are no formulas to this stuff. It's a lot of it depends on a lot of variables. And the answer to this question is no different. So if you were looking for that quick answer, you're not going to get one. But what I want to do today is share my thoughts on it and also share some things to consider, right? Some pros and some cons to getting personal in your content. And then hopefully you can make the right decision for yourself and your business that is unique to you and your business, or your organization or your hobby or whatever it is that you are using social media for outside of just your personal stuff. So really, it does affect you. So examples of personal information, as I mentioned, about your family, things you're doing, just day to day, a picture of you on the golf course, a picture of you fishing. I'm literally thinking of examples of myself. Just this week, Addison, my daughter, she's in middle school. Actually, technically last week at the time I'm recording this, she started middle school. And, I talk about my daughter on my live videos. I talk about my daughter, in my content sometimes. My first business that I started was named after my daughter. Her name was literally in the business name. And, sometimes I'll be live and Addison will be home, or she'll be kind of coming and going, or she wants to come say hi. She steps in the video and she says hi. Sometimes when I start my live videos, I like to start them off with a, transparent countdown timer. I play music and we dance to get kind of warmed up and jazzed up for the live video. And every once in a while, Addie, if she's home, she will join in with me. So my audience knows I have a daughter. They know I'm a single mom. They know that I like to golf. They know that I like to go fishing. I mean, I literally one time went live and talked about marketing, and I did it while I was fishing, and I talked about how fishing and marketing are similar. So, I have been layering in, personal, sharing personal stuff with my audience for as long as I can remember. And for me, that has worked because that's just kind of how I am. Honestly, the nature of my personality in general, outside of like my professional persona, is I am a very transparent person. I'm not really one to keep information private or feel a need to keep information private. So I am not afraid to, in my own personal content, in my own personal posts, to be just open about what's going on in my life. Like, I'm just not one of those people. And so naturally that carries over, I believe, into when I'm communicating with my audience online. Now that doesn't mean that I'm going to come out here and create a podcast episode about how to, fish, or how to go play golf, or a podcast episode all about the vacation I just took. That's not why you're here. You're not here to, listen for 20 minutes about my new vacation spot in Rosemary Beach, Florida, right? That's just not really why you're here. But that is okay for me, in my opinion, to share that in, my content. So, hey, last week I was on vacation. I was in Rosemary Beach. It was beautiful. It was the first time we went there, and really just tell a little story about the vacation, but then get into the whole point of that week's episode and get into the content, right? So understanding your audience and knowing why they're there and what they want to learn from you is definitely key. Now, some personal information isn't always going to be appropriate for your professional profiles. I don't share everything, right? I'm not sharing my day-to-day life with you all or with my audience members or anything like that, but I am just layering those little things in. They're just little nuggets that I layer in from time to time. And that for me works, and that's okay for me, because that is a decision I have made for myself. And you're going to have to make the same kind of decision for you and your business as well. You may not want to share information about your family. You may want to keep that private. You maybe want to separate your professional world from that personal world for a lot of reasons. Now, there are some reasons that makes a lot of sense to me. Different industries, right? So there are certain industries where you probably would want to be more private and not let your audience know about some of the things for security reasons, for relevancy reasons. So again, that's why this all comes down to you have to make this decision for yourself. Okay? And also just remember that just because other people are or aren't sharing personal information doesn't necessarily mean that that's what you should do too. I am a firm believer that we all have to build businesses for ourselves, and the content that we create has to be enjoyable, and we have to feel good about what we're sharing. And so if you don't feel good about sharing personal information or stories or little vignettes about what's going on in your life, then you shouldn't do it. But if you do feel good about it and it helps you feel connected to your audience and helps you feel that it's information they enjoy hearing from you, then you should. It's really, I hate to make it sound oversimplified, but, I think the decision falls on you, right? So you got to kind of think about some things like that. But I want to share a few other things for you to consider and think about. One, the biggest thing I want to share is that if you are going to decide to share personal information, for whatever reasons they are, think about why you are sharing it. For me, to be honest with you, like 90% of the time, it just kind of comes off natural. Like it really does. It just comes off natural. Last week I was on my live stream and I was basically talking to my audience who, again, they know I have a daughter. I talk about her, new members, new viewers maybe don't, but then now they do. And I was like, you guys, tomorrow we start middle school. Oh my goodness, here we go. Please send all the help, it just comes off natural. I didn't sit there before my live stream and write down bullets and say, make sure you share a personal story today. Okay, pick one. It wasn't like that. So I do like that. Like for me, it's just kind of natural and it flows. For you, you might find stories to share where it ties into your content or it ties into what you want to do. My really good friend, Bobby Klink, who is, he is so good at this. Like it is like his superpower. So he has an amazing, his emails are so great. Like they're just very entertaining. They're enjoyable to read. He always has a call to action in them, whether it be to, for you to listen to a podcast episode or to check out something he's offering or whatnot, right? But he loves to share and start these emails with these little just personal snippets. And they usually, like 90% of the time, tie directly in. He brings it back. So there's a reason he's telling a particular story in his email, and it's personal. They're almost always something personal. Sometimes they're a little bit more personal, but a lot of times they're like, they're personal. I remember one time him sharing about his daughter starting kindergarten. I remember one time him talking about his father. I remember they're memorable. They're little, what he calls personal vignettes, little stories. But he likes to select personal stories that tie in. So you could do the same thing, right? I personally, it just sort of rolls off for me. Now, sometimes I might be a little bit more strategic if I want to tell a story, if I have like a bigger message that I want to hit home, I might do that. But you can decide the same thing. But the bottom line is that I want you to make sure that it's authentic. You don't want to be trying to create smoke and mirrors. You don't want to be trying to, get a wow factor, just be authentic. If you want to share personal stuff, then share it and have a reason, right? Have a reason to share it. Don't just share it because you're showing off or trying to make yourself look better or you know what I mean, right? Just be authentic, be real. Don't be icky, because that almost always will come out. People will pick up on that. They can sniff that from a mile away or hear it or whatever, right? So that's the big thing, is just make sure you're thinking about that and it's authentic, right? So one of the benefits, one of the reasons I really am an advocate for letting your audience in a little bit to your world, your personal life, is because I really do think that it can make you very relatable to your audience. So, depending on what it is you do or what it is you offer, they are looking to you for something, right? Whether they may be looking up to you, you're their mentor, maybe you're their coach, maybe that you're somebody that inspires them, that they just enjoy, listening to content, watching content, following, or, maybe you're an expert in something and you're a teacher, you have a course, or perhaps, you are just, quite frankly, just running a business and they enjoy coming in and shopping from you. And so you're kind of like their little expert on helping them pick out their outfit. I mean, seriously, they look to you for something, right? Something of yours that you do that's professional, a professional skill or a product or something. So when they can get to know you personally, it helps them connect to you a little bit differently. And so they become relatable. Like, oh, Mel's a single mom. I'm a single mom, or I used to be a single mom, or my mom was a single mom. So it's an attachment. It's another thing for them to kind of just connect with me on. Now, with that, it could be that some of the personal information that we share can actually create a disconnect, right? And so not necessarily that we want that. We don't want to lose our audience, but we can sometimes share information that maybe all of a sudden they're like, ooh, this person's not quite my style. Now, I will say that if that's the case, and you want to be able to be transparent because you want to just simply be able to talk about certain things in your life and in your business, all at the same time, and that person is going to feel disconnected and they're going to kind of maybe bounce on you, that's okay. Be okay with that, because what I don't want you to do is to feel this need to hold back a natural desire to talk about your life, whether it be your family or what's going on, right, in your life with your audience. If you feel that desire and you want to be able to do it, then do it. And know that if you do share a story or you do share, a personal opinion of something that creates a disconnect from an audience member, then you're actually you're pruning and you're doing what you should be doing. You are attracting the people that are going to be attracted to you. And then some people are not going to be as attracted to you and you're going to repel those people, but that's okay. Because what you don't want to have to do is to feel filtered because you're trying to entertain everyone or please everyone. You will not be able to maintain joy, momentum in what it is you're doing in your business if you're resisting natural stuff, right? So be yourself. That's why I'm always such a big proponent of be yourself, even if you feel that it may be a bit unpopular with some people. Those are not your people. It's that simple. Because it's maybe unpopular with some people, but it's going to be popular with others. And I hate to use this as an example because it does make me feel just sad. But our world, our country is definitely divided. So that is proof right there that you can pretty much have any opinion, and there are going to be people that share your opinion no matter what, whether you agree with it or whether everyone agrees with it or not. There's a crowd for everybody. And it's the same in our world and in our business, right? Now, the thing about that, so I want to say is, there is that benefit of they connect to you, they relate to you. They're going to remember things, you're going to be more memorable for them. They're going to maybe feel more comfortable engaging with you as well. And we want people to be engaged with us. We want people commenting on our social media content. We want people responding to our emails. We want people to give us reviews on our podcast. We want people to, we're live on video. We want them commenting. We want engagement. It's conversation. Social media is meant to be social. And that's the socialization of it, right? The socialization. Is that a word? I don't know. I like to make up words. It's okay. But you know what I'm saying? It's that social aspect, and that engagement is that social piece. So naturally we want that because it's meant to be that way. And so when we can let people in a little bit more, it actually can bring down some barriers and make them feel more comfortable talking to us. Because again, we're bringing out that human factor, that personal touch, those personal details that help them feel more comfortable talking to us. And naturally, you're going to talk back to them. When we share some of those personal details or we let people in on those personal things, sometimes it also just naturally creates a conversation. And then you're going to actually get to know your audience even better through what they talk about. And so be listening. So when you're sharing personal information, be listening to the response. Get to know your audience. Maybe you'll get to know a little bit more about them. Maybe you'll learn, wow, that story really resonated with a lot of people in my audience. Pay attention to that. What does that mean? What does that tell you? How can you learn from that, leverage it, and share more stories to, again, get to know them even better? Because we want to be getting to know our audience, not just on that professional realm. I mean, I really am a big proponent of letting it get a little personal. But again, not everyone is going to be able to fall under that. Now, with those benefits and those rewards that I just kind of talked about, there's definitely risk. I mentioned that you may detract some people, you may repel some people, they may decide that you're not a good fit for them, but also on the same kind of in the same world, be open and understand that when you start to open certain doors of dialogue, you may open up that conversation and it could be something you may not be ready to handle. So as I mentioned earlier, you don't have to share everything, right? So if there are some things that are sensitive topics, delicate topics that you aren't ready to have public dialogue about, then maybe hold back on that, right? So I used to always say, religious, topics, political topics, things like that are always going to there's always going to be an opinion over here and an opinion over there and a lot of opinions in between. sensitive topics are probably going to potentially create dialogue. So, I mentioned that, again, somebody may decide, they're not a good fit for me, unsubscribe. That's one thing. But comments, right? So if you're going to start talking about certain things, maybe your opinions about things and whatnot, you need to be ready for potential conversations that are going to be happening. And so just make sure that you're ready for that. Kind of predict it a little bit, do a little bit of do your own little kind of filtering. Okay, am I ready? What will people how will they react to this? Again, why do I feel it's important, or why do I feel it's necessary to share? And is it authentic? Are my intentions pure? And then be ready and understand that there could be some dialogue that comes your way. So with that being said as well, you've got to think about your own boundaries. You've got to think about what makes sense for you to be creating on your personal profiles versus your professional profiles in regard to those topics. I do think that there are a lot of topics that just simply don't need to be covered on a professional account. But there may be, maybe you are a leader. Maybe there's a particular way that your audience looks up to you and they rely on you to share particular opinions or information. And that's how they look to you in the professional realm. That then maybe it does make sense for you. But most of the time, there are a lot of very sensitive topics, in my opinion, do not belong in our professional content. So think about those boundaries of your own. They are your own boundaries. Think through them. Do some predicting, right? Kind of think about, okay, how could this go? What could potentially happen here and whatnot? If you're just talking about your kids or your puppies or whatever, that's a little less serious, but you do need to do the same thing, right? You need to kind of think through the same thing, because once you start sharing that information, you can add as you go. So you can start dabbling with this whole personal stuff, maybe to share a little bit of personal information from time to time, see how you feel about it, see how your audience reacts to it. Don't just go all in, because it's easy to add as you go, but it's a lot harder to remove things later. Once it's out there, it's out there. And so, if you're unsure about maybe an opinion you're going to share or a detail you're going to share or something, then just kind of sit on it. Give yourself a little time. You don't need to feel pressured to, create content about this stuff all the time. I got a little deep there, but hopefully you understand what I'm saying. The bottom line is this: you decide if you want to share personal information in your content. You decide how much is too much, and you decide what you want to share and how you want to share it, right? You create your own boundaries, and then you also know your audience, and you're the one who's going to make the decision about what's appropriate for you, right? Now, obviously, think about all the things I talked about. There's probably even more things for you to consider and think about. But what I really want to do is I just want you to understand that there is no rule, right? There is no formula. There's no you can share for every 5 posts, you can share 1 personal post. I kind of used to use that as a rule of thumb. And if you're looking for a rule of thumb, that's fine. You can create that kind of ratio, but there really is no perfect formula. There's no rule. So you decide what makes sense, right? Just be intelligent about it, be thoughtful, and listen to yourself and your gut. And again, don't feel like you have to do it because of some of the benefits I shared with you. If you don't feel comfortable with it, then don't do it. Don't do anything that you're not personally comfortable with just because you see somebody else do it. And the same goes for the other way around, right? If you see certain people and they don't share anything personal, don't let yourself feel like that means you can't share personal information. So kind of a not a super duper serious concept here, but definitely one that we all have to think about and consider as we are putting ourselves out there online. Because once that information's out there, it's out there. Like I said, it's really hard to pull information back. And personal information, we definitely want to be careful about what we're sharing and how we're sharing it. But also know that there can be a massive reward from being personal and letting people in your life. It creates connection to you, who you are as a human. And our human aspect is also part of our brand. Right? Everybody is a personal brand, even if your business is a logo and whatnot. The people in your business have personal brands. And so when we share personal information, it lets our audience see that person, the human part of us and our professional, brands and what they are. So I personally like it. If it fits, I say go for it. But as I said, Maybe walk before you run with it, dabble in it a little bit, and make sure it's authentic. Honestly, make sure you're not, creating smoke and mirrors or, trying to get an effect or a result. Just do it if it feels right and natural. It's that simple. All right, my friends, that is what I had for you guys today for this episode of the DIY Marketing School podcast. I am really excited to keep creating these episodes. I've got more episodes actually in the batch that are coming out. Very excited about a couple of them coming. I've got some amazing guests coming up as well that are going to be released here in the next few weeks. So definitely stick around. If you're a new subscriber, welcome. If you've been around for a while, thank you so much. I appreciate you for sticking with it. I am excited to keep this podcast going. And I don't know, I'm kind of like, as in my last episode about realigning yourself, if you didn't catch that one, definitely check that out. This podcast is, I think, going to be going through some alignment, right? So I like to help people who are basically marketing themselves DIY style. But there's a lot of tips and tricks and tactical things and, how-tos that I can share. But there's also a lot of just mindset things that I can share too, pep talks and things that are inspiring me at the time that maybe I want to share with you so that you can get inspired. I just want to keep the conversation going. I want to support you in your DIY journey, outside of how to design the best thumbnail for your live videos, right? I want to do more than that. And so, this podcast is probably going to go through a little bit of an alignment as well. And so hopefully you're around for it. And if you have feedback for me or thoughts or ideas, then definitely hop over into the Facebook group, DIY Marketing with Melanie. Get a post in there. Send me a DM. Let me know what your thoughts are. I'd love to hear from you where you're struggling or where you're looking for help or what you need, how I can serve you in your journey of doing your own marketing and putting yourself out there. So bottom line, always keep going. Keep it fresh. Keep it real. Don't overthink these things. Action creates the courage. So take action. Keep taking action. That's my biggest thing that I want to kind of just keep honing in on everybody. Even if it's scrappy action, because as I always say, scrappy doesn't have to be crappy, right? If we're doing it scrappy, that does not mean that it sucks or that it's crappy. In fact, some of my best work has been pretty dang scrappy. I'm not going to lie. And I hope that you can say the same thing one day, because when we take action, the courage comes and we take more action. Action creates more action. So if you leave with anything today, think about that. How about that for a little sidewinder pep talk at the end of this episode? All right, my friends, I'm out of here before I keep rambling. So have an awesome day and do something great. Take some action. Go be awesome.